My name is Susan Reardon. I'm the staff hearing officer, and I call the meeting of Wednesday, July 24th to order. Today we have 3 items on our agenda, and I haven't received any requests for continuances, withdrawals, or postponements, so we'll hear the items in the order they appear on the agenda. I don't have any announcements or appeals. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on today's agenda? No, seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 2230 Cliff Drive, if the applicant would like to come up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please, when you're ready, Suzanne.
This project is located on the corner of Fellowship Drive and Cliff Drive at 2230 Cliff Drive. You can see a site plan of the original existing development. The house was constructed in roughly 1937 as a duplex that straddles the property line with the adjacent neighbor. The proposal is to demolish the existing residence, this portion of the duplex. Apparently the adjacent unit will be buttoned up so that it's weatherproof, and they are going to construct a new residence with an attached garage. Speaking to the existing site plan, this garage here was constructed in about 1954. In about March of 2008, Southern California Edison required that the property owners demolish the structure because it was over an existing utility easement. You can see that utility easement highlighted in pink there. They had not rebuilt it. They are going to abate that violation of demolishing the garage without permit as a part of this proposal, because they are restoring a 2-car garage. You can see from the constraints of this lot, it's about 5,400 square feet. Roughly 61% of the lot is located in required setbacks, leaving an approximately 2,100 square foot area to develop in the center of the lot. Here. They are at 98% of the maximum floor to lot area ratio as required by code on a lot of this size. And they are requesting to locate their required open yard at this location as you go up Fellowship, adjacent to their driveway, partly due to the constraints of that development envelope. You can see, even at the time of the existing development, that they had a yard that was not conforming to our current 1,250 square foot requirement. It was roughly 1,176 square feet in the configuration that they had previously. The proposed open yard is about 1,125 square feet. So the applicant is requesting for open yard modification to reduce the required open yard to 1,125, as well as locate a portion within the 20-foot required front setback along their primary frontage. The new front door will be oriented towards Fellowship. The access for the garage is also off of Fellowship. There is a topography issue on the Cliff Drive, so there is not a pedestrian path that goes to their primary frontage along Cliff Drive. So with that, staff, given the constraints of this lot, is supportive of this request and suggests a approval of the modification, making the findings on page 3 of the staff report.
Okay. I do have some questions, but I'll let the applicant go first. If you'd like to state your name for the record.
My name's Douglas Keep. I'm the architect for the project.
Okay.
And I would like to say that one of the reasons why we're taking this structure down is because initially we had a structural engineer look at the structure, and it's basically beyond repair. There's no seismic constraints in it. Also, another advantage to this proposal is that we are basically conforming to the required setbacks between structures. So we feel that there's a kind of a win-win situation here with conforming to this is right now kind of a fire hazard because there's no fire separation wall between these structures, and fire could go through fairly easily. And so I think that's really all I have to say.
Okay. Can you go into more detail in terms of your proposed location for the open yard area and the size, and then also the size of the residence? I realize that a similar project was approved back in 2007. Since that time, we have had changes in the zoning ordinance, which speaks to small constrained lots, and those changes include being able to break up your open yard area into smaller areas, and then using your primary or your secondary front yard up to 10 feet versus your primary front yard setback, stuff like that. Because I do have concerns regarding the proposed location of the open yard area, given it's not adjacent to the living area, and also there's obstructions in it. There's the wires for the pole that come down right in the middle of the area. So I'd like a little more discussion on your thoughts in coming up with this plan.
First of all, Cliff Drive is a fairly busy street and noisy.
Okay.
And we felt in terms of locating a somewhat secluded area from the traffic, we felt that it was better to have it on the north side. In addition, this owner here, in our original proposal, we did have the structure closer here, and he had some objections to that. So we felt that this area here we do have is more appropriate in terms of being off the main street, and it'd be a quieter location. We have access to this yard through this area here. This is going to be kind of a planted area in here, through here. Mm-hmm. And plus it gives us fairly large space for recreation for small children, things like that.
Well, I'm just thinking with the wires, there's right in the middle. It's gonna, if you throw a ball, it's gonna hit the wire. Or if you're trying to play soccer.
I mean, that was something kind of beyond our control. The after we had done this project, Southern California Edison said that they were putting underground. We used to have a fairly complex power pole here, which actually I think is right here.
Okay.
Is that it? Yeah. And they took that down. Okay. So really, it was to our advantage. I mean, this was much more of a intrusion in the property than a guide wire. And we did talk to them about other alternatives for guide wires. Right. And they basically were adamant about
this is what we're doing.
This is what we need. Okay. You know, so we have tried to accommodate. I mean, I think it supports. I mean, the whole neighborhood really has been improved because of the underground utilities put in place. So we felt it was a small concession.
Okay, so Cliff Drive, this is your property right here.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And in the staff report, it's talking about a lot of this vegetation, the yuccas and stuff are coming down?
That's correct, yes. Yeah, they're they're raising the sidewalk. We're working with the city in terms of putting in the appropriate plant material that they have chosen.
Oh, so this is part of the sidewalk improvement programs in front of your...
I don't know about that. In terms of preserving the existing sidewalks, the yucca trees, I don't know if I have a specific
Oh, the
picture.
yucca trees are bringing up the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Not-
yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant the city was.
No,
Okay.
no, no.
No,
the yucca
roots.
trees are.
Okay, yes,
yeah.
okay.
And so
All right.
they're in total support of removing these and putting more appropriate plant material down. And the landscape architect has addressed that issue.
Okay, and this is the subject property. There's a low wall, and that's remaining there?
This low wall is, we talked to this neighbor, and he's in favor of combining whatever we design, which is going to be a low 3.5 foot high garden fence, the same. So we'll have some continuity there. So I think it'll be a real improvement.
Okay. And then the house, there's not really a good picture of the existing duplex, but there's like an arch coming. How are you what are you going to do to the front facade of the building that's remaining?
Right. I don't know if I have it in this. I did show it to the, basically, yeah, it's not here.
This is your house.
What we're doing is the arch, it's going to remain an arch. It's going to be foreshortened, and we're adding a column. And the architecture review board did
Okay.
review that and
Okay.
felt that was an appropriate solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at it like, how is that going to...
Yeah. I mean, I do have I can
Oh, yes,
email you a
great.
graphic photograph of
That's
that.
okay. So here, I don't know if the camera
Right,
can
you
zoom in.
can kind of see it there. That's not a real good depiction of it, but it's basically going to be an arch with a column on their property to separate that. And we've had discussions with those neighbors, and they're really in favor of this project.
Okay.
And I think there's letters to support that.
And this is your proposed landscape plan?
Correct.
All right. Then the other question that I have, it's probably more for staff, that you had mentioned it too, was noise.
Yes.
Does it meet the open yard area? It meets the noise requirements, Suzanne?
Yes, they were in a noise contour that didn't require a noise study be prepared. They were below the 60.
Okay. Well, that was the...
Yeah, we're specifying laminate glazing on the exterior wall all along through here for noise purposes, and so we're addressing that because that's a concern of the owners.
Yeah. And you were saying this here is a low wall also?
This is going to be a very low
Okay.
3-foot. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I think that's my questions for right now. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 2230 Cliff Drive? I'm seeing no one. We did receive one letter from Ms. Paula Westbury expressing concerns on the project. 2 letters?
See one from David Tate,
Oh, is that?
the neighbors with that one.
I don't get that one.
I have it right here.
Here, which was expressing concern about the FAR, and if the FAR was reduced, then maybe they wouldn't need the modification, and some concern about the location of the open yard.
Okay, he's expressing his concerns. His principal concern is the size. If the project allowed at 99% of the floor area to lot area ratio, it may set a precedent for future development along Cliff Drive. It's 98. Okay. Did you see Paula?
Yes, I have copies of that.
Okay.
I just got that.
So I'll close the public hearing. Like I said when I was asking you to explain more about the open yard area, my main concern is the location of the open yard area. I realize the site is extremely constrained. It has 2 front yards, which limits your first 20 feet all the way around the corner.
Right.
As Suzanne had said in her presentation, the setbacks are about 60% of your lot area. So it is real constrained. And when I went out to the site and I saw the pole, the guy wires for the pole, I thought, that really impacts your open yard area. But in reality, you do have other areas on the site that, although this is a front setback, you can still use it as an open yard area. And it's, these areas is contiguous to your house. And I noticed there's a patio, on-grade patio here, which is allowed by the zoning ordinance. So although this area over here, on paper and per the code, it would meet it. It's a little small, but it's a large 20 area. This area would also function as a usable area for the residents on the property. And in thinking through, when I had my intro comments to you regarding the changes in the zoning ordinance that allow the area to be broken up into smaller areas, I'm not sure how that would work on this site, given the constraints of the corner lot in terms of breaking up the building and allowing second areas for the open yard area. It would more than likely require an additional modification to allow that other area to be included. So given those issues, I can make the findings outlined in the staff report and approve the project subject to the condition that sounds like you're complying with already, that the any proposed fences, hedges, walls, or screens be designed to comply with our fence, hedge, wall ordinance. So my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. They also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if that was to occur, Suzanne would contact you.
Okay.
Okay? Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Do you need both of them?
I have these.
Okay.
I have multiple copies.
The next,
Thank you for your time.
the next item is 1315 Mission Ridge. The applicant likes to come up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
This parcel is approximately 13,250 square feet. It's developed with an existing 2,424 square foot. Sorry. It's developed with a two-story, 2,424 square foot residence with a detached carport, or it was developed with a detached carport and a accessory building beneath the carport. So as you can see from these photos, this is the carport that's highlighted here in purple. The room that we are talking about that is being converted to a portion of the house is located directly below the carport. The application before the staff hearing officer today is for a front setback modification to allow additions and alterations within the front setback, including new windows and lighting within that 30-foot front setback, and then an interior setback modification to allow the conversion as well as a new window within the interior setback. So if we go to the floor plan, this is the upper level here. You can see the existing carport right there. And this room is directly below the carport. They have constructed a 41 square foot addition that connects the former accessory space to the residence. They're going to be using this room as a bedroom. They have put a closet in there, and they just enclosed this breezeway that was underneath this existing bridge type feature where there's stairs to get up from the residence into the carport. This is a view actually looking at that bridge type feature. The carport is here. There's doors just underneath that bridge to enter into the hallway there near the bedroom. Staff did discuss the amenities that could be placed in that bedroom due to the type of connection, and would limit it to the same type of features as would be in a detached accessory building, just because it's not a very strong connection, but it will function as a part of the residence. Would want to be converted to another use. This accessory building was approved with a modification in 1983 by the Planning Commission, and they had that same concern that that space would be used as a separate unit, so they had put a condition on the project at that time that that room not be used as a separate unit, and I have carried that condition forward in the recommended condition 3
So the Planning Commission approved the mod?
for the accessory building to be located under the existing carport in 1983.
Oh, why not the modification hearing officer?
I think at that time the rules were different about who reviewed that type of modification in the hillside.
Oh, okay.
So it is in the hillside design district. So we have requested in the conditions that they have all unpermitted work permitted, that any lighting that is proposed is consistent with the outdoor lighting ordinance, that the room not be used as a separate dwelling unit, and that a zoning compliance declaration be recorded due to the configuration of the house overall. That staff recommends approval of the 2 modifications, the front setback and the interior setback modifications as suggested in the findings in page 2, 3
3.
of the staff report, and subject to those conditions.
Okay, great, thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide any additional comments?
Eric Swinemson. I'm the designer and agent. That pretty well covered it, other than I guess we could clarify the window that's
Yes.
being proposed. It's an as-built window. This one was existing, although it has been replaced with a new window. This originally was the door to the accessory space, and it is now a window. And it actually complies with the egress requirements as a bedroom. This window, I think, is the only one that may be in question. It's in the interior and front setback.
It's on that second set.
But in the photos, I think you can see that you can't see it. Obviously, it's below ground level. The neighbor's home, I think, is well down the hill. It's just a orchard out there, so there's no real impact on the neighbor. And it provides light and ventilation if it's to be converted to a bedroom. So we hope that that will be approved as is. And then, Suzanne, did you bring the photos that I sent you of the lighting? Because I didn't bring copies of those.
Could have them in here.
There's
I might have gave them to you.
There's a light here and a light here they're both wall-mounted, shielded, that match other lights in the house on the exterior. And again, they're pretty well impossible to see from the street. And again, they're shielded, so they provide the required lighting for an exterior door.
Okay, yeah, that was one of my questions. When I went out to the site yesterday, I couldn't get on this area. If I looked down from the street, I was trying to see, was there access here? And then what kind of lighting, because that would have the most potential impacts to the neighbor. But this one, it's out of the interior setback. It is in the front setback, but it's this way versus on, this wall here. So
Right.
And then this one is, although it's in the, no, this one's out of the all setbacks.
Right.
Because it's this way.
Right. It's
This
out-
one's in the
it's
front
in the
setback.
front. Were you able to see that one?
Yeah, I
Or
walked
you
down
can-
to here, and I walked
Okay.
kind of that way, so if I can get down. And I looked through and then over, just to get an idea. And there's steps coming this way,
Right.
but not up here. So, yeah, I was able to see enough.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have them. When I did look at it, the lighting did appear to meet 2275 of the Santa Barbara Municipal Code for outdoor lighting.
Okay.
I think it was consistent with this lantern that's out here.
Right.
Okay. All right. Did you have anything else, or I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. I think that's it.
Okay. Great. So,
I did not mention that this did get reviewed by the Single Family Design Board, and they had positive comments, and they were supportive of the modifications. They were consistent with their guidelines, and they felt that it was not visible from the street or the adjacent neighbor, so it would have minimal impacts.
yeah, I saw the minutes here. Okay, so I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 1315 Mission Ridge? Seeing no one, I did receive one letter of concern from Ms. Paula Westbury. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't.
You can have my copy. I've read
Thank
it.
you.
So I'll close the public hearing. Like I mentioned, I did go out to the site and looked around the neighborhood, looked around the site, get an idea. My main concern was regarding lighting. Well, usually my main concern when you're asking for a front yard setback is the encroachment into the front yard and how that's part of the, although it's private property, it's part of the public setting on the street. But given this instance, it's below grade. You can't see anything. It's an existing space. So the conversion of the accessory space to a bedroom in the addition even of this one window, I don't believe is going to impact the neighbor significantly. My one concern, though, was I parked in the carport since it was nice and empty, and when I went to back out, I couldn't see. And I know this hedge here is higher than 3.5 feet. This one appears to be 3.5 feet. So what I would like to do is have, as a condition, put a condition on that transportation go out and visit the site for concerns of visibility exiting your driveway. Because here, this, it's kind of a current corner. People come around and just to look to see if there needs to be a further height limitation just to increase the site visibility.
All right. Well, you saw this foliage
Oh, we
or
have
tree or
pictures.
whatever
Yeah.
it is,
Pictures back.
which is...
Sorry. Yeah, this says,
I know.
so that meets the code, but there is a safety provision in that section too that the transportation engineer can require.
Even lower?
Yeah, if it's a safety issue, visibility.
Okay.
So here, this one is higher. This one appears to meet the requirement, but the driveway kind of goes down into
Right.
so it makes it hard to look back this way.
Right.
So I would like them to look at it just to see. And if they say it's fine the way it is, well, then the condition's written, it'll be written that it'll be fine the way it is.
Okay.
But it would be limited to that section of the code that limits the height to 3.5 feet within 10 feet of the front driveway and 20 feet back.
Right.
From, or 10 feet of the driveway, 20 feet back.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So,
So would you like me to take it to transportation or?
yeah, that's what I'll just put a condition. And then when I would talk to them first, and they're good about going out to the site. And then anything that you work through Suzanne, any agreement that comes up will just be shown on the plan submitted for building permit.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that added condition, I can make the finding outlined in the staff report and approve the project. So that will be condition 5. I'll just add it onto the end. And like I said, on the first project, my action is appealable to the Planning Commission in 10 calendar days. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could also call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if that was to occur, Suzanne will contact you. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. The last project is 18 South Voluntario. Good morning.
Good morning.
A letter from interested party.
You have to read it to us, part of your presentation.
Yeah, I'm pretty good, but
All right. Okay, great. Anytime you're ready.
This project is located on a nearly 7,800 square foot parcel that's currently developed with an existing 854 square foot single family residence, which is located in this area here. I'm sorry, I have a pointer. I should be using that. The applicant is proposing to construct a 789 square foot second story addition as well as a 558 square foot first floor addition. So the first floor addition is here, and the second floor addition is shown in the hatched area. The additions conform to all required setbacks. The existing residence is non-conforming to both the front and interior setback of the R2 zone. The application before the staff hearing officer today is a modification to allow a conforming alteration and addition that will change the basic exterior characteristics of the existing one-story residence that is non-conforming to both the required 20-foot and 6-foot interior setbacks. Staff is supportive of the project. Staff did review the likelihood of the portion of the building that is in the setback to be demolished. They are not proposing any alterations to the portions within the setback. They feel that they can retain that in place. Therefore, staff was supportive of this modification, however, has added a condition that if the demolition exceeds what is shown on the set of plans, and that portion is to be demolished, that may affect the validity of the modification. A Phase 1 archaeological letter report was done for this property. The conclusions was that there was not a high likelihood to encounter any significant subsurface prehistoric remains on site. Staff has added a condition of approval that our standard language about unanticipated archaeological findings on the site and how to proceed if that is encountered. The project was reviewed by the Single Family Design Board on 2 occasions. The board found that the modification was aesthetically appropriate and did not pose any consistency issues with their single-family residential design guidelines. And they made another number of comments on the refinement of the building details that were not directly related to the modification request before you. Staff recommends approval of this project, making the findings in the staff report. There's just 2 that we just discussed. And we did receive the 1 public comment letter from Paula Westbury, who is generally concerned with new development or expansions of existing development.
Okay, so then to clarify,
Yes.
the front setbacks, this line right here,
It is
this one, and then really the only element that encroaches into the front setback is the
The porch.
existing porch. The
Correct.
building itself's out, whereas in the interior setback, it is the actual building itself.
That is correct.
Okay, and then do you know the history of this building next to it? Does it have a MOD? It looks really close. Did it get a MOD to encroach, or is it just right at the 6 foot?
I'm sorry, I do not know what the
That's
development
fine. I was
history
just
is on the
wondering.
neighbors.
So here's the front porch part. Here's on the side. So the building. Okay, that was just a question I had.
Just looking at those pictures briefly, I did ask the applicant to have information on whether or not, here in the side yard, you can see there's this heater enclosure, which I could not find evidence of a permit. If there is no evidence of a permit there, that would likely have to be relocated per building code. So, just
Well, now would be the time when you're doing a major addition to
yeah,
find a home
I doubt
for
it's
it.
going to be sized sufficiently to serve.
and we also talked
Yeah.
about the location of the
Correct.
trash cans.
Okay. If you'd like to state your name for the record.
Robert Mills.
Do you have anything else to add? Can you tell me how good your project is, or how?
Well, we're looking forward to hopefully moving forward with this process. Obviously, we're looking to enlarge the house just so that it could accommodate some of our extended family when we come up to visit and staying at the house. Right now, it's just a 2-bedroom house, and we have 4 people already in our family. So whenever my parents or my brothers come up, it's very crowded. So, we have obviously done some changes based on the single-family design review to accommodate their concerns. They still have some additional concerns about more the decorative elements of the house in terms of the rafter look, and as well as the corbels and some of the other front and rear elements. But in terms of the layout, they did not seem to have any issues.
Okay. One thing I did notice, and it'll be verified during the plan check process, but just to let you know, is the solar ordinance, and it's shown, you can see here in the pictures, the shadow effect, and you
Correct.
show compliance with it. It's just right along the roof line, but that
Correct.
will be verified during plan check process.
I did double check it.
You did? Yeah. So just-
No, it's right at it. That was one of the difficulties of trying to design a second story, just because how close it does
Yeah,
come.
and they're narrow lots
Correct.
and all that, so a lot of issues there. The other question actually I have for you, Suzanne, is all this paving. Is it all necessary?
I don't know that it is all necessary to an 18-foot width. I do know that the applicant was encouraged early on by Dan Gollett to consider using the shared driveway approach at one point, reducing paving, minimizing what is necessary, but there is a need to turn around due to the length of the property to go face forward out onto the street. But
Yeah.
I don't know that we need as wide of a driveway as
I
proposed.
couldn't get back with the gates.
Right as
I looked
well.
through and I thought, well, it's not really a big deal because what I'm looking at is your existing area, and then the new is conforming. I know I'm looking at the whole of the building, but is there a driveway going over here?
No,
Yeah.
that would be the turnaround. There is a driveway here that goes to a flag lot at the back that has 3 residences.
But it doesn't. Let's see a picture.
So
So this is your driveway. and you
this is
turn
my
around.
driveway. Yeah, let's see here. There should be a picture of. So this is the driveway that goes all the way back to the shared to the flag lot at the back of the property.
Okay. Well, I would like to put another condition on to reduce the amount of paving to the minimum necessary.
Okay.
And then also turn around, this would be the minimum necessary to turn around. You can't back up all the way. You do need a turnaround.
No,
right?
and I know the
But just-
transportation department had a concern about exactly how long this
Yeah.
section was.
And so you could work with them before building permit, before
Right.
you go back to the design review board. Yeah, so I'll say something to the fact to just reduce the amount of paving to the minimum necessary to provide adequate access to the carport and turnaround.
Okay.
I think that was,
And if it can be removed from the setback, want it removed.
Right, yeah, we'd already talked with my landscape designer as well as my architect about exactly how long that turnaround needs to be. We also have, in here would be the stormwater area too, so
yeah.
function how that design all works.
Because if it's 45 or is it 45, 46? So I mean, that's, you don't need all that to back up.
Right.
Or that, yeah, so remove turnaround and setback. The concern is we don't want parking there too.
Right.
Parking is. Did I already open the public comment?
I mentioned the letter.
Okay, well, I'll open the public hearing. Let's see, no one in the room. And we did receive, like Suzanne said, a letter from Ms. Paula Westbury. So I'll close the public hearing. Kind of got ahead of myself discussing. So, yeah, I visited the site. I think the modification in this case is more technical in nature. It does change the character from the street. But like Suzanne said, the addition is all outside of the setback, and it's being sympathetic or being respectful of the neighbor, is that north?
No, north.
Yeah, which is already 2-story, and then the lower, given the existing development, on the other side of the property where it is, I lost that picture you just showed me, where it is lower
I think it was in
scale.
the other section there. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah, right
basically condos next door to us, and
Yeah,
it's
so
fairly
it provides separation.
Right.
So I think in terms of the modification is supportable with my added condition to reduce the amount of paving on site. So I'll make the finding outlined in the staff report and approve the project subject to the conditions as I revised them. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period, and if that was to occur, Suzanne would contact you.
all right.
Okay? Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I adjourn the meeting.